There was a major three-way trade between the LA Sparks, Seattle Storm, and Las Vegas Aces. It's not an exaggeration to say this is a league-altering trade. The Aces are receiving Jewel Loyd, the Sparks are getting Kelsey Plum, the 9th pick in the draft, and Seattle's 2026 second-round pick. The Storm received the number 2 pick in the draft, Leah Rue and Las Vegas first-round pick. The biggest surprise in this trade is the Sparks, but it's important to put some context into their decision. It was reported that the Sparks were unsure about who would be available at the 2nd pick of the draft, which led to their decision to give it up. I imagine they spoke to someone who knows Olivia Miles or someone inside of Notre Dame's women's basketball team, and didn't like what they heard in terms of her entering this draft. But in the event they made this assumption off of no inside information, that's really stupid. It's also important to note that Seattle owns the Sparks draft pick in 2026, so the Sparks most likely want to win as much as possible to keep Seattle from getting a top-tier player. Kelsey Plum has allegedly made a verbal commitment to re-sign with the team next year. I understand the logic, but I still strongly disagree with this decision. Kelsey Plum does not make this team anywhere near close to title contender. She's a great player, but not the type that can be the best player on a championship team. Cameron Brink and Rickea Jackson are players with extremely high ceilings and future superstars, but they are nowhere near ready to compete for a championship. Rickea Jackson still has to get better at areas that aren't related to scoring, and Cameron Brink is coming off an ACL tear and barely had any time to develop last year because of her injury. Not to mention they literally have a first-year coach. But let's, for sake of argument, say they both make big jumps next year and Kelsey Plum has a career best season. They would still get pummeled by the Liberty. Their big three is definitely not on the level of the Indiana Fever. They wouldn't be able to beat the Lynx. With the recent moves Atlanta and Phoenix just made, it would be hard for the Sparks to be able to beat them in a series. If Paige is healthy and they get a half-decent post player, they won't be able to beat them either. Even Seattle is sketchy. If they land a good scoring 2-guard, I would take them over the Sparks too. The Sparks always give the Aces trouble, so maybe they can upset them, but that's about it. All the Sparks had to do was be patient. They already had 2 really good building blocks with Brink and Rickea, and a 3rd young player would have sealed the deal. Yes, it's true Olivia Miles might decide to stay in college. I would even argue the odds of that are pretty likely. But in that case, just draft Dominique Malunga. She's a 6'6" big who can handle the ball post up, is a great defender, and is athletic. I'll stand by that Cameron Brink is not a WNBA center. Her frame and play style is that of a power forward. Malunga would have been the perfect player to pair with Brink because she's a true 5. So it still would have been worth it for the Sparks to draft her, especially long term. Yes, it's true it might take Dominique a few years to come over to the league, but Leonie Phoebish proves good things come to those who wait. And in the meantime, Derica Hamby is more than capable of filling in. If Olivia doesn't come out, I give this trade a C+. Short term it will be great, but long term it will prove to be a mistake. And if Olivia actually does come out, this is an easy F. The Storm won this trade, and I think this is the case even if Olivia doesn't come out in the draft, which I'll get into later. Jewel Loyd was on a 1-year deal, had a career low in field goal percentage, and shot less than 30% from the 3-point line this year. The Seattle Storm had literally no leverage or negotiating power in this situation, and were still able to somehow get high-value assets. They might end up getting more than what Dallas gets from the Satu trade, who is a much better player than Jewel in the current stages of their career. If Olivia Miles does indeed come out the draft, it's a no-brainer for me that the Storm won. But even if she doesn't, Dominique Malunga is so special that she should be drafted regardless of fit. After Paige and Olivia, she's easily the best player in this class, and I don't think it's particularly close. You could even make an argument that she has the highest ceiling out of all of these players. If she was playing college basketball in the States, she would easily be a first-team All-American. She's a 19-year-old cooking grown women overseas. Imagine what she would do to college kids around her age. Yes, there's concerns about when she might come over and how many games she might play, but if anyone can convince her to play for Seattle, it's Gabby Williams. Dominique Malunga is the perfect example of a player who is going to fall in the draft. Then the teams that passed on her get clowned later. It will be interesting to see what direction Seattle decides to take. Do they try to sign more free agents to win now, or do they blow up the roster and go full-on tank mode? The 2026 draft class is full of potential superstars, so it would be worth the tank. It's hard to tell what direction the Storm will take until the free agency period is over. Regardless, they have a very bright future. This will probably be a controversial opinion, but I think the Aces are by far the biggest losers in this trade. In my previous video, I talked about how trading Plum for Jewel straight up would be a terrible idea because it would be a direct downgrade. Well, they did something even worse. They traded away their first-round pick for next year, which I think isn't getting nearly enough attention. The Aces gave away Kate Martin in the expansion draft. They lost their 2025 first-rounder this year due to the Hamby situation. And now they don't have a first for next year. In other words, they don't have a single young player to develop besides Kitley. Obviously, the Aces are in win-now mode, but to truly maintain a dynasty, you have to bring in younger players who can eventually replace the veterans in their role. That's exactly what the Liberty are doing. They know their draft picks might not pay off right away, but Sabali and Phoebish were clearly worth the wait. I understand Kelsey Plum wanted out of Las Vegas, so their hands were kind of tied, but I really don't think this was the move. Jewel is more ball dominant and less efficient than Plum. The Aces better hope Kitley is able to contribute immediately and are able to sign some more role players, because last season proved it doesn't matter what Asia Wilson does. The other players have to step up more consistently, and the Aces desperately need more production from the bench. Tiffany Hayes is exploring her options, and Alicia Clark is only getting older. I'm not sure if they protected Tiffany in the expansion draft, but if they did, I imagine they heavily regret not protecting Kate, especially if Hayes ends up leaving anyway. But that's it for this video. Who do you think got the best end of the deal? I'd love to hear your thoughts. As always, thanks for watching.